guys, and welcome to the 10th Realm. Today with me, I have Jake.
Hey guys.
And Sean.
How's it going?
And John.
Hello.
Who is normally hosting, but today that falls on me. So first we wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, Chaos Orc Superstore.
Chaos Orc Superstore.
If you have a local game store, I mean, you should obviously be shopping there because that's where you're playing, but if not, Chaos Orc Superstore is pretty great. Their shipping is super fast, and we fully support them. And they support us, so check them out. Additionally, we are doing a giveaway. We all went pretty heavily into Soul Wars, so we have 3 core books, a General's Handbook 18, and a painted set of endless spells that we're going to be raffling off. So in order to get yourself entered in that, you have to be subscribed to our channel and then comment on one of our videos for this month, and then that'll enter you. So to start off with today, we'll start off with our community segment. And over the weekend, John, myself, and Sean, we all played in a tournament over in Amsterdam at Guardian Games, which was a lot of fun.
It was.
John came in first.
Yeah, with the new Nighthawk, so
yeah.
That was pretty exciting.
1,500 points. It's tough to move ghosts off of objectives, so.
Jane Rassport is a thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Anything else?
Sean came in third.
Yep.
Yeah, it was kind of a moral third though, because I only got third because the person who was going to get third got best painted. But that was only because the way the tournament was structured, it was based off of kill points.
Yeah.
So I didn't kill as much as that person, but I had a minor victory versus a major, or a minor loss versus a major loss.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was lots of fun.
Yep.
We all had a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't actually do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
Well, yeah, but
I practiced with John for the tournament.
there you go.
So
You were there in spirit.
I was.
Yep.
I always am. Stupid work.
And then community segment. Does anyone have anything that they found this week that was particularly inspiring or interesting to them?
Yeah.
You want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, on the Age of Sigmar Fan Network, which is normally where we find all of our inspiration from, Tobias Shell, I might be butchering his name, it'll post up here and we're going to have it in the comments below, posted this really awesome Knight of Shrouds on the horse from the Soul Wars box, and it was painted, I think, with mostly the new Roontide like blue color paint, but he had a couple of really awesome conversions on it, and the shield was painted almost in like a mirror reflection kind of look. It was really cool, and that made me want to pick up Ghosts. I don't have Ghosts, but everyone else does, so I might go out there and try and maybe even just get a couple units of guys to paint up. We'll
You
see.
still have all your Stormcast to do.
No, I don't have those anymore.
What happened to them?
I
Alright.
offloaded them to get more deep kit.
Alright.
Gotta get those eels.
Okay.
They were great.
Yeah. So my inspiration for this week was on the Stormcast Eternals Facebook group page. Gareth Crompton did a really cool hoplite type like Vanguard hunter for the Stormcast, painted up in the Celestial Warbringers, which are like the maroon and gold guys. I really like that color scheme, and it was really cool, especially being pointed out that there's a newer guy. It looks like with this cool spear, like somewhere over on this side. Over on this side, on the Stormcast
top
book.
left corner of the Stormcast book when you're looking at it.
Yeah, he's
Of
in
course,
the
you won't be able to see
background.
here.
Yeah, he's in the background. It's pretty cool. He looks like he'd be a cool model to be if he was ever a hero.
Oh, if Stormcast models came out that had like a 300-esque spear shield, round shield. unit.
Right.
Would you paint 300 of them? More
I
so
would.
than 300 grand?
I would. They'd be easier to paint than 300 grots, I think.
Yeah.
And to be fair, nothing stopping you right now from doing that. You could make all of the Great Hammers spears instead.
Well, yeah.
And
Or
it's
you
like
could
you're
just
playing
do
Sequoia.
Get all the
Or you
Cleric
could just do
Alphalite
swords.
bodies for the top half.
You could just take them as swords and then do
Greased up beefcakes.
greased up beefcakes. God. Oh God, why did you guys put that on my head? Now I have the whatever
The Custodes.
the Custodes meme in my head.
Oh, that's okay. There's worse things to have.
I know.
How about you, John?
Well, I'm last minute tagging on the panel. I wasn't supposed to be here today. So my community reference is from Instagram that I was just looking at under the table. And it's from Demon Rich on Instagram is his handle, and he has a
Oh.
lovely red and blue ghost, which is actually the color scheme that I picked.
Is it
Yeah.
chain
But it's,
guard?
but it's
Is that what
reversed,
it is?
yeah. Chain gas.
Okay.
There's so many chains now. Like,
Yeah.
There's chain
Chain rasps.
chain rasps, chain gas, and then I think one other chain. The guy from the starter box is, I think, a chain something.
The jailer dude.
Yeah, but really cool picture, and again, they
Cool.
should all be popping up. His non-metallic metals on his little hammer things are pretty cool.
Richard Gray is amazing. Everything he does is fantastic. And then my awesome thing that I found was also on Instagram, and it's hashtag Mayor Solemn, which is a dark Age of Sigmar Inquisitor 28 type game that people are doing, but it's all like junked up like ships, and they had a picture, they fought like a giant whale thing, and it just all just looked super
With
cool.
ships?
Yeah, so they
What rule
have.
set do they use?
I'm not
Or is it like
100%
their own thing?
sure, but it's all converted up, so everything's like dirty sailors and pretty cool looking.
Do they have scurvy?
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'll have to
so
check it out.
yeah, it looks
Yes.
really cool.
Not enough vitamin C.
Oh yeah, these look rad.
Nice. Like it.
Yeah,
Photos
so
will show up in the link.
Yeah.
yeah,
Down below.
and so then now we are off to the races,
Okay.
onto our community segment, or onto the main segment.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be talking about all the realms that are in Age of Sigmar, and just kind of the things that you can find there, artifacts, synergies, what we like about them. So the first question is, what realm, in your opinion, has some of the strongest synergies and abilities? And we can start off with Sean.
Okay, so I picked Hish because it seems like that's what a lot of people are picking, and the one major GT that, of course, I can't remember the name of
That's
in
the
the
Australian.
UK.
Oh,
I think it was the one in the UK.
Yep.
Might have been Australian. But a lot of people were picking Hish just for the artifact Lens of Refraction, which basically is if you're within 6 inches of the bearer, any unit within 6 inches, if they are affected by a spell that deals mortal wounds, you reduce the damage dealt by D3.
Yeah.
And I brought it on Saturday, and it's pretty rude.
Yeah.
Like,
Doesn't sound
training
fun.
out thrall units so they're within 6, and especially against the one Maggotkin player, I felt bad because Rodriguez's spell is normally really fantastic, where you roll like 7 dice, I think, for every 4-up. You pick 3 units that you can see, or you pick however many 4-ups you roll, and for every one, it's unlimited range, just D3 mortal wounds. So the way it was structured, you could only see the ones that were being affected by the Lens of Refraction. So it was I think for almost the whole game, I took next to no damage from the spell every turn. It was pretty awesome. It also has the spell Banishment,
Yep.
which you only get the spells if the game you're playing is in that realm. So that we'll come back to later on a later question where we talk about it for competitive play and how to dictate that. But I think Banishment is one of the best spells. I mean, there are a couple, but in terms of from the realm of Hish, is the best, where basically you teleport your opponent's unit more than 24 inches away from the wizard that cast the spell, and they have to be within 12 inches of the wizard casting it. So he basically just teleports them away. And
No charges for you.
yeah,
Bye bye.
exactly. Yep. So that and is pretty much when I think they have the strongest abilities, especially
Yeah.
with mortal wound. I don't say spam, but
Prevalence.
Yeah.
prevalence that armies are relying on in competitive play. That the Lens of Refraction is one way to really deal with that.
Yeah. They also have the Aether Quartz too, which is an artifact, and then every time you use a command point on a 5-up, you get it back.
Oh, right, which is pretty decent too.
Yeah,
I have
especially if
the
you're
blade. But
gonna have Nighthawk guys stealing all your command points.
oh yeah.
Oh man. I mean, that's just not
It's
fun.
interesting that
Yeah.
we could even just talk about like command points in a whole show. I think they're really
Yeah.
that important. And people are talking about like 10 command point lists where literally a quarter of your list is just command points, and I don't see that being that great, but
Alright.
we'll see as the game
Sounds like a good subject.
Yeah,
goes
that's-
forward. Yeah.
Definitely another show. While we're talking about it though, I have 6 games of 2.0 right now, and command points are becoming increasingly more and more important to me.
Yep.
Starting the game off with 2 feels really bad. Like, at 2,000 points, I'm thinking like 3 or 4 might be a sweet spot for that. As far as battalions go, it honestly makes me want to take battalions that I would pass on normally just to get the command point.
And is that just kind of because you were Ultramarines and Guilliman and you had 70 command points that you could blow playing 40k, or?
No, it's just, it's,
I would agree with that.
well,
Hashtag
I
Codex
got
Ultramarines.
real used to those command points.
maybe, but I mean at the same time, the importance of being able to ignore battle shock multiple times is super important sometimes. Being able to reroll a charge distance has won me at least 1 game so far. For armies that are speed demons, like I had no idea that Bloodbound could have a 30-inch effective charge range when they use a command point to roll a 6 automatically.
Oh.
It's like, I think they're going to be. I'm glad that they're not immediately knee-jerk overpowered, like spend a command point and fight first in the combat phase or something like that. Like,
Yeah, like
they
with
played,
some really powerful
Yeah.
command
they
abilities.
played it really tame with the generic command abilities. I think that was a good idea because I think as the meta shakes out, I think they're going to start to become more and more important. I don't think that 10 is the right number, spending 500 points on command points, but 3 or 4 I think might be in the realm of reliability.
Interesting.
Fair enough.
Cool.
So do you want to carry on and say what that your
Sure,
role?
because my segment is going to be super easy, because again, I wasn't supposed to be on this panel. I agree with Sean that of all of the realms, Aish is by far the most powerful combinations of things on initial glance. I mean, I don't want to make any statements about Sigmar 2.0 until at least 6 or 8 months down the line, when people can actually fiddle with everything. There's just too much information right now to make an informed decision. But the ability just to the one item, the lens by itself makes it the best realm in the current meta format. Like Sean was saying, reducing damage to 0 or 1 off of the D3 mortal wounds that are out there is super important. The Sigmar Comet I played against last night comes down 10-inch bubble of a minimum of D3 mortal wounds to your units. Reduce that by whatever they roll by at least 1 is absolutely bananas. So yeah.
What was it, like 32 mortal wounds in 2 turns of pulsing?
Right, because you don't, even if you go second, you don't get to activate it or turn it off or set it somewhere else. It just happens again. So when the Sigmar player wins the double turn, it's extra painful. And yeah, it was after Deathless Minion saves, it was 31 wounds
Wow.
in 2 turns.
Oh, yeah.
Jake, what are your thoughts?
So I chose something different. I went with Olgu, the Realm of Shadow. I liked its lot of movement shenanigans, and it's just the rules in the core rule I thought were pretty cool. The command ability that you get where you can use the Shadow Mansion or the Shadow Realms spell like type thing. I think it's a realm feature. Sorry. So like you get to either you pick up a unit that's in a garrison for the mansion, and you can move it into another garrison thing that has a garrison.
Garrisonable
building.
features.
Yeah. And then the other one is Shadow Realms, where you get to if you're within 6 inches of a table edge, you walk off of it and then move on to another table edge as long as you're 9 inches away from enemies. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then they have some pretty good artifacts that were pretty interesting. You pointed out to me the Doppelganger book. I was like,
Can you read that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
played against it this
Yeah.
weekend and it was pretty
Because I didn't
terrible.
get to play against it this weekend, but I heard about
Which
it.
realm was that from?
I got it right here. So it's the bearer cannot be chosen as the target of an attack with an enemy melee weapon unless the bearer has made attacks earlier in the same phase. So essentially, if you just keep your guy just like waiting until the last combat, your
Whoever's
enemy.
in melee can't fight.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's pretty cool.
And you straight up forfeit it too. Because you still have to select the unit to fight.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
can't pass on units anymore.
Nope.
They can't fight him.
Because he hasn't made an attack.
Yeah.
And then they either pass or they have to fight an adjacent unit. So
Yep.
there was an instance where I was playing against it and the enemy Bloodthirster had it. So I had to drop attacks into the Bloodletters and forfeit the majority of the attacks that were wrapped around the Bloodthirster.
That makes you
Like,
upset.
Yeah, I mean, not upset, but I mean, it's super powerful.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
cool. They had a few other, like, I know there was a mortal wound negating one. Yeah, they have a wristband that allows them to, on 6+, they ignore wounds. And then, like, there's one other one that I thought was pretty cool. I don't know. Oh, the Trickster helm, reroll successful casting rolls with enemy wizards within 8. I thought that was like, oh, neat. I still don't really play with this new Stormcast wizards all that much yet. I've been playing like 1 or 2 games. I played 3 games and I played like 1 or 2 wizards in each one, and I was like, oh yeah, they're alright. I still like the old school stuff. I was playing some 1,000-point game today with a lot of the old school stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. And it did well, so. But yeah, I thought Ogu had a lot of interesting things to offer that was not necessarily things that are super overpowered, but it was variety.
Okay.
Right.
Gave me an interest,
And
kind of going towards it.
I'll mention it quick too. I think the game designers did a really good job having each realm feel unique, but not doubling up on too many abilities. Because for the most part, it seems like each of the realms has a artifact that negates mortal wounds,
Yeah.
or on a 5+ you ignore it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then each one has their own really good unique one, like the ones of refraction, like the doppelganger
Yeah.
cloak.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of it's good that they didn't just copy paste all of them and like change the names. But I think it's really just those 1 or 2 unique artifacts, not necessarily the
names, but the
Yeah.
effects.
right, and the fact that they have like the war gear options, and then the what's
The magical.
yeah, they have
artifacts
magical, and then the
weapons.
ones
Yeah.
those also are good because they don't seem like they're duplicated a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They each have their own kind of flavor, which
Yeah.
is nice. So I don't think like the one event. I think that was more just like everyone's like, oh, Lens of Refraction, that's awesome, Hish, and everyone had pretty much had it in their list. But I think once the game progresses and people really read through and choose the one they want for their army, it's not just gonna all be like the same major artifact chosen.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot to go around for different playstyles.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
For sure.
And then our second question is what realm, and then the artifact spells and effects that go along with it, provides the biggest boost to the main army you play? So Sean, or I started with you last time. Jake,
Okay, so
what's up Sigmar?
yeah.
Stormcast?
So since we play a lot of characters, this Stormcast 2, they have a lot of characters. Most of the times, a lot of 2,000 point lists max out at 6 with the 6 heroes that we can take. So if you throw the doppelganger cloak on one of those heroes, all of a sudden you have a hero that is gonna go up into combat and fight, and hopefully you can just hold him off, and you don't have to actually really worry about him in the combat phase. So you can-
Surgery.
Yeah. Or, and then you can do some other cheesy stuff, like, give it 4, ignore wound saves. But that's besides the point. 4 ignore mortal wound saves.
It's really deceptively good. Is having the
Yeah.
fight last in combat.
Yeah.
Deceptively good.
Yeah.
It like the amount of damage output that could deny. You have to be conscious of it though, because you have to be able to fight your opponent.
Yeah.
Like if they have 2 fights and you only have 1, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
But as long as you always have equal number or more fights than them.
And you're going if you're on the back end, it would be better. So if it's their turn, it's better.
Yeah.
But if it's on your turn and you have 3 units to fight with and they only have 2,
Yeah.
or they have it's still not.
So it's not an auto like.
Yeah, there has to be
win-
some thought put into
Yeah, it's
it.
not
Yeah.
an auto and switch,
100%.
but there has to be some thought put into it.
It keeps
And
your
you
heroes
have-
safe.
And you have to know what units you can afford to sacrifice to if you really need to keep your hero alive. But you know that other unit's going to get obliterated. The trade-off is there if you need to do it.
Yep. I just think that it's nice because a lot of the heroes for Stormcast, we really only have Lookout Surge right now. And it's like, other than that, they have a decent 3-up save. Cool.
Which also is deceptively good. Again, from my experience, Lookout Sir is really
It's
good.
real good deterrent. It was
Like-
really deterrent in the game I played today. I was like,
Going on average from hitting on 4s, most things in the game, to going on 5s
Yeah.
is either I'm going to shoot it at a different target or you're not taking damage.
yep,
Like, it is.
it was pretty good. So I thought it was an extra layer of protection that I could actually take and gave me a little bit of safety. Because I feel like that's what I need. I have enough offense. I was like, I just need more defense.
Okay.
So
John. Which
Sure.
of the 90 armies you have, or if you're considered your main one at the moment,
Well,
Nighthawk?
90.
I picked Nighthawk because my overlords are dead to me.
Oh
Interesting.
gosh.
Oh, I was actually gonna say, I forgot my joke was, I was super excited for all these realms because they're so good with overlords. On an unrelated note, if anybody wants to find my overlords, I picked Shaiish, which is the realm of death, which synergizes with death. Go figure. Funny how that works. Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And then as far as fighting in the realm, the spells, because you only get the spells if you're in the realm, but they do actually combo pretty well with the Nighthawk stuff. Mostly.
I know where mine are. I didn't really. read the question.
Is the Unnatural Darkness, which you pick a friendly unit within 12 and you subtract 1 to hit rolls for that unit. So you put that on a 40-man Chain Rasp unit, and now you're -1 to hit them. Then you put Shrouding Mists on them, which is the Nighthaunt special spell, which makes them -1 to wound. So now you're -1 to wound and -1 to hit a 5-up unrendable unit of 40 guys that ignores wounds on 6s.
Well done.
All right.
Yep, which I think is why you can't have the spells unless you're fighting in the realm, because some of these combinations are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Soul Shroud, which is the other one that I thought was interesting, is you pick a friendly unit within 12 of the caster, and that unit can't be targeted by spells, which
Ooh.
is a pretty big shutdown.
Yep.
Yeah.
You drop your Unnatural Darkness on that 40-man unit, you drop your Shade Mist on that unit, and then you say Soul Shroud, now they can't be targeted by spells either. I feel like AoEs would probably still hit them, like the Comet,
What's the?
because it specifically says they can't be affected by spells.
That's the comment is still a spell.
But they're not being targeted. It's an AoE.
It doesn't say they can't be targeted. It says that they
Yeah.
can't be affected.
That's true. So,
So the
Little bit of
endless
interpretation
spell wouldn't even
issue.
be.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then as far as just generically, unfortunately a lot of the items, or not a lot of them, but the ones that jump out immediately are on 5+, you ignore wounds or mortal wounds. On a 6-up, you ignore wounds or mortal wounds. If you're playing death, you already do that. One is you can't be affected by modifiers plus or negative on your armor save, so that's good for other armies that have really high armor saves. My favorite out of here, though, for just in general, is the Banshee Blade, which is, and if any of your hit rolls for your weapon is a 6, you roll 2d6. If it's higher than the target's bravery, they take d3 mortal wounds. And then the other one is the Splinter Tooth, which is in your shooting phase, you become an enemy unit within 8, which gives Nighthaunt their second ability to shoot, other than Banshee Screams, which isn't really shooting. And you roll 3 dice. If 2 of the dice have the same face, they take d3 mortal wounds. If all 3 have the same one, they take d6 mortal wounds. So it's a high risk, high reward, low probability mortal wound output, which at range is always fun. So,
Okay. What about you, Sean?
Well, after kind of reviewing the second question a bit more, because I really didn't relate it to my army, I still think Hish is really good. I think I'd still take the Lens of Refraction, especially in an army where I'm running lots of eels, because they're pretty points intensive and they're more like elite
Yeah.
infantry, so mortal wounds hitting them really hurts.
Yeah, our game, I was able to do a lot of mortal wounds with the evocators and them.
Right,
Yes.
because my Tidecaster wasn't near them once they charged up.
Yeah.
But after kind of reviewing it, and I love the Eidolon model, I just can't really find a place for it in my list. I think one thing that would make the melee Eidolon variant really good, because they can take relics, they're not named, is taking Aquashi, the Realm of Fire, because one of their artifacts, their relics, is the Thermal Rider Cloak, and you add 4 to the bear's movement characteristic, so that he'd be moving 16 inches
Okay.
a turn. And then if it's turn 2, then he can run, and so 16 inches plus 6 if you spend a command point on him. He can move 22 inches and charge in turn 2.
Does he already have fly too?
Yeah.
I'd
So
say
I
there's a
figured
couple
he already
other
had fly.
artifacts that give you add to your distance and then also give you the ability to fly.
Yeah. Aside from these couple ones that I've seen for the realms, a lot of the Deepkin relics, and it might just be because they have like 4 different tables you can pick from, are really decent. So if I didn't take the Lens of Refraction or the Thermal Rider Cloak for one of those two realms, I probably wouldn't take anything from them.
Okay.
Anything else?
That you mentioned the writers doing a really good job of making everything feel different and flavorful. I really appreciate how they made so many items for all the realms feel viable, but still compete with your own being so viable that it's a toss-up.
Yep.
Like there's no clear cut, oh well, I'm trying to struggle with a decent example of it, but there's no, oh well, my book artifacts are so good there's no reason to even look at other ones. There's really good ones in these books.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, where it's, oh, my personal artifacts are terrible, I'm never going to take them. Well, no, there's actually a couple of really good ones in there too. So you're seeing a lot of customization in your armies, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's pretty cool too. It helps out a lot of the armies that don't have books right now, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Or that have older books that I haven't seen in a while.
yep. Like today when I played against Moonclan Grotz, it was like, oh, I didn't know I could pick an artifact because I didn't have any artifacts. And I was like, oh yeah, you get to pick from one of those, and it's like,
Yep.
Yep. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Helps out.
And I really like Guy Ron.
Realm of Light?
Yeah.
Of course you like Roman's Life.
so vampire.
I mean, a lot of stuff. But they have 3 spells from the sorcery book that'll give you the ability to deal out some mortal wounds, which is nice. Sylvanas is a little bit lacking in that part. They also have another cool movement spell, so you can add a little bit to your movement shenanigans. And then they have an artifact, which is a weapon called the Gur Strike, which adds +1 to your wound and hit rolls on a melee weapon. So if you put that on Dirtzu, he's hitting and wounding on 2s, doing 6 damage for his turn until he takes 2 wounds.
Yeah.
And once he takes 3 wounds, you're going down to D6
Can you
on
not?
2s and 2s.
Can you not? Don't do that.
I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I really love that damage spills over in Sigmar. It might actually be one of my favorite things in the game.
Yeah.
Because, excuse me, because like in 40k, a big, giant, huge robot, well, that's a bad example because most of them have titanic feet. Oh, we can still use it. A giant, big dreadnought charges into a bunch of basic guys, and then it only kills 4 guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or less because it only has 4 attacks.
But its damage characteristic is 6 or whatever
Yeah.
it is. So it should be damage. It does 24 damage to the unit, but it only kills 4 guys.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Super sad.
Where in Sigmar, I really love even just the cinematic like thought process of it, of just this giant huge monster is barreling into this horde of guys and is just
Yeah.
killing tons of them. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
See
You
all
feel-
the
I mean,
guys
there's good and
flying
bad.
over the top.
components to it,
You
but
feel the weight of the monsters
Yeah.
right.
like, when they're doing damage. Like I found out that the magma dragon
Oh, God.
from Forge World, I had my ghosts fighting it, and whenever it fails an armor save, on a 4-up it does a mortal wound, and then the 6 does D6 mortal wound. So there was
Yeah.
just a whole bunch of ghosts stabbing it, and then magma blood pouring out, and just murdering these ghosts.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first turn I had like a solid third of my army decimated by the magma dragon because I was able to deal some damage, but then he rolled 6s for all of his failed all his saves, rolled 6s, and just destroyed units. Like, it was terrible.
It has like 25 wounds too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's
It's like-
540 points, but it seems
Yeah.
kind of really worth it.
It's like the Jabber Scythe or whatever it's
Yeah.
called. Kevin wants to get some of
Except
those.
for it's like 3 jabbers lights
One-
on one
yeah.
body.
One
I mean,
body.
its damage output was like, oh, okay. And I asked him, I'm like, wow, that was kind of mediocre. You like killed like 3 ghosts and put like 4 wounds on my hero. How many points is this? Oh, like 550 or something. I'm like, wow, that seems really excessive. And I punched him. I'm like, all right, 16 wounds. It's like, oh, 5 up save or 4 up save. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty bad too. Fails. Okay, these are all mortal wounds back to you. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's why it's
All right, yeah.
okay. If I try to kill you in close combat, it hurts.
Yep.
And then there was one other artifact that I liked for Gyron, which was the Verdant Mantle, and that you're able to dispel a malign sorcery if you're not a wizard, and then if you are a wizard and you put it on that hero, you're able to dispel one of the sorceries in addition to being able to continue casting, which I thought was pretty cool.
Now I'm just picturing a bunch of corn models with like grass, like flower things on their heads.
Little
And he's like,
baby
oh
crowns.
no, stop and
Little-
spells.
A cool
Robo
butterflies
life.
flying around with them.
Oh god. Yeah.
All right, and so then question number 3. So ITC has already said that they're not going to be using any realm rules in any of their tournaments. So what do you guys think about that? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you like being? Does it make it easier for TOs? Does it limit what you want to do with your armies? What are your thoughts, John? You can start.
So ITC says they're not using the realm rules. You can still take artifacts,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just you don't get the
The
existing
spells and the
or the
extra
command
command
yeah.
abilities.
Yeah. So on initial impressions, I thought that was a pretty straightforward move. But after having played with the realm rules, I actually really like them. I think that there's a couple that need to be banned or just ignore this section, like the Realm of Beasts, being able to set up an undisclosed amount of points worth of monsters on the table that just randomly go and fight something. Yeah, Dreads aren't a magma dragon, a chaos mammoth. Like, yeah, there's some excessively unnecessary things in that situation. But for the most part, I think having a roll on the table, and there are a couple of artifacts that let you manipulate the table if you roll on it, which I like. So having to roll for the thing, it affects both players equally most of the time. Like if there's, on the Realm of Fire, if a terrain piece is infinitely high and blocks line of sight, that applies to both players. If there's one that is doing more wounds whenever you're next to it, that applies to both players. If there's one that is -1 to your bravery, that applies to both players, so that's fine. And you're supposed to roll before you deploy, so you should know which side you want to pick and be able to plan accordingly to that. And I think it's fine. I see why ITC is doing it though. A lot of competitive players don't like random, and the game is already a dice game, so it's already random. And then just trying to shove random tables on top of random spells that you can't account, like the things that you have to consider when you're list building just skyrockets when you have the realms to consider, because you also have to think about, okay, well, if we get into a realm, what spells is it going to have access to? If we're going to get into a realm, does he have army-specific boosts, like the Nighthaunt endless spells, if you're fighting in the realm of death, increase the range of all of the spells? Like, the things that you have to consider that are army-specific bonuses, or if they picked a realm, there are spells you have to consider also. So it's just another entire layer of planning that you have to do. And like I said, in my experience, most competitive people don't like random aspects. They don't like no points, and they don't like random. And I'm actually starting to lean towards, I think, no points and random is probably the better way to play Sigmar. Maybe, I don't know. I would be okay with seeing it as long as it's done in one of two ways. Either,
Oh, well, hang on to that, because that's the next part of the question.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
sure. So I would say I actually would prefer ITC to reassess their statement of not allowing it and maybe just implementing certain aspects of the realms instead of all
Okay.
of them.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so on Saturday, what the event did was, before the first round started, they said, hey, we're going to roll a die, and this is going to be the realm we're going to fight in, which I think was fantastic. I love that. And what they did was they used the realm the realm spells, the magic, which is in addition to the malign sorcery spells that are in the book for each realm, and then the realm command abilities, but they did not use the Realmscape features, which I think moving forward for competitive play, I would love to see it done that way. Is you don't do the Realmscape features, which are normally the overtop things, so like the extra beasts coming out, or you increase range of spells. So you basically treat every chart when you play in the realm as rolling a 1, which is the Realmscape feature, has no effect in the battle. But that way it still adds a layer of we're playing in this realm, which affects the game in different ways. You get this additional realm command ability, you get these additional spells that you can pick. It forces players to kind of have to be familiar with each realm and the ways in which they can use it to help manipulate their army, which I think all of that is good. I totally agree with John that a lot of randomness is coming into the game already. For example, coming from a little bit of War Machine, when the new edition came out, or maybe it was, I don't remember what year it was, but they just released the new tournament packet for that year. None of the missions were like random disappearing objectives anymore. Which I think is funny because the third mission we played in the tournament, do you remember what it was called? It's one of the new missions. Basically, there's 3 objective markers in the middle of the table, and you're playing lengthwise. And each turn before the battle round, you roll a d6, and based off of the roll, determines which of the 3 objectives become the primary objective. And that primary objective scores you 3 points, and the other ones only score you 1 point.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I knew I wasn't going to like the mission, and I really feel bad for my opponent. And some people are like, oh, well, you know, it's just the nature of the game. Well, it's not the nature of the game when you play really well, and for 3 of the 5 turns, you roll the first objective that your opponent has. So it's not even that your opponent is necessarily playing better than you or knows their army better than you. It's just that they have that objective. And if there are missions that, and I've got to honestly read through the book and see how many missions have the random points values like that, it almost just encourages a player to just bring a list that's going to stomp your opponent, so that then you can always just have control of the objective that gets you max points. But I mean, that's a little side rant. But answer the question, I'm really disappointed with ITC. I wish they would implement it, especially since it's such a huge aspect of the second edition. But again, it would just be, you don't use Realmscape features, but you get access to the magic from that spell and the additional realm command ability from that spell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake?
So I think I'm also pretty disappointed that we're not going to be seeing it in competitive tournaments for ITC. It's a lot of fun to use the rules, all the different ones. I've only played in Fire, so like having the big huge, I did use the Realmscape, so having the big huge thing that was like line of sight blocking throughout the middle of the table was pretty cool. And some of the extra spells, to know them is really nice. Like, you get extra options, like having most Stormcast wizards only cast 1 spell, and they get 4 different spells if you're not playing in a realm. Having that extra 6 spells that you get to use because you're in the realm is really nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit more
Yeah,
utility.
you just kind of get stuff to figure out. It's just extra stuff that's nice to have. It's for free, it's everything like that. I mean, yeah, it's actually rules to remember and stuff like that, but I think more is sometimes better, and I think this was a good choice of more is better instead of more is.
And you get all the spells too.
Yeah.
It's not even like you have to remember the one single one you got and
Yeah.
write it down. It's just you flip to that page, and
Yep.
if
There you
it's
go.
not on that page, you get to cast it. Sorry,
Yep.
I didn't mean to cut
No,
you.
that's good. That's pretty much how it is. You just keep it open on the side of the
Yeah.
table that you got, and then both players can just look at it and be like, oh, I want to cast this spell this turn instead of my other spell. Like, oh, both my spells are out of range. On my one, I got one out of the book, and then a spell on my War Scroll. Oh, well, both those are out of range, or they're not going to do me any good. Well, let's go see what could be pretty good right now in the realm that I could use. So,
Mhm.
options is
Yeah.
what I like, and I think it's nice to have.
All right, and then the second part of this question is, if you were to run a tournament, how would you address the realms in using them? Would you use them? Would you go ITC and just say, no, we're not doing anything? So Jake, what are your thoughts?
I definitely would use them,
Yeah.
and just like the tournament that you guys went to this weekend, I would have everyone roll at the beginning of each round.
Okay.
Because
Each
Do a
round.
different one each round.
yeah, you do a different
Okay.
round each round.
That's not how it was on the side.
well, either way,
Is that how you want it though?
I want it every round
Okay.
because
Okay.
one, it gives huge variety.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to plan around it. Granted, competitive players like playing around what they're doing. They don't like change. They don't like randomness. Like John said, it's kind of the nature of that player. I know it kind of comes from like my Magic that I do on the side, Magic the Gathering. So it's like a lot of my friends who play their decks, they like being able to stack their deck and not have to worry about the next card they're drawing and everything like that. So,
Okay.
but I would have it do every round you roll, and one player. I guess you guys could the tournament, the TO will roll, and then that's each table is using that realm. So, and that's how it works.
Okay. John.
I wouldn't go each round. I would do the tournament is set in a realm. That they either roll before the tournament, so they give you time to prep for it, or they just do it morning of. I think is the best because then you don't have that prep time. You have to play a little bit on your feet, which I like. And yeah, as Sean said in his introduction segment part, there is the realms are such a big part of just the story, not like let alone the rule book that they dedicated sections to, and the Blind Sorcery that they dedicated sections to this, and the General's Handbook that they dedicated sections to the realms. In the stories, the realms are a big thing. They have a huge impact on what's going on. And like Nurgle shows up in the realm of life, and they're trying to turn everything to rot and fungus and stuff, and the forest fights back, and that's part of the story. Like that, I think, is just such a cool aspect that isn't in other games right now. That I'd like to just take advantage of that and play in it. But just so we can try to, like, from a TO's perspective, trying to walk that line of keeping people who want this kind of stuff and the people who want to stay away from it. I think Sean's is by far the best one so far. Is morning of the tournament, we roll, we're in that realm, ignore the terrain schemes. Easy as that. You just get the added bonuses, you get the access to the spells. Everybody's on an even playing field. There's not going to be that one time where a mountain is on the objective marker that it erupts and does d6 mortal wounds, and the other guy rolls a 6 and kills your last 6 guys on the objective, and you lose it. And then that loses you the game. Like
You still have the objective because you can walk away from
Oh,
the
right.
objective.
Yeah.
sure,
I get the
But,
the
right,
example
but I mean,
still
like-
works.
Yeah.
or it happens and you need your hero to cast a spell or dispel a spell, and he dies in between turns when you're rolling for that effect, and you don't get to do it on your hero phase. Something like that, where it's like it immediately loses you the game. You're just like, all right, well, that feels bad, and you want to avoid that feeling. So the more dramatic things you need to stay away from, but the thematic stuff I'd like to keep it in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I pretty much voice what everyone else is saying. I definitely don't think it should be a realm every different tournament round. I think that'd be too much kind of for players. And again, that's kind of just, you still can just flip to a page and reference it, but at least if it's, okay, first round, we know it's this realm, and for the rest of the tournament, it's going to be this realm, so then you basically get used to it over the course of the games you play through.
Yeah, familiarize yourself a little bit with the spells and what you have available to yourself.
Right. I still think is the best way for ITC to do it. And I don't want to bash ITC because they do a good job running events and providing player packets. It disappoints me a little bit that right off the bat, they just said, we are not doing this. Versus being like, okay, well, we're going to try this for the first 6 months. When you run events, give us feedback for 6 months. Then we'll decide how we want to do it, versus just being like, hey, we're going to try realms in our events right from day one of 2nd edition Sigmar. The ATC just happened this past weekend. And I don't think they used realm rules, I think, because it was an ITC event. I don't know. I'll check with Joe. But but at least if it right off the bat when they said, "Oh, hey, we're going to try this," I think would have been better than just starting out no, because ITC is so prevalent in our gaming. community is that when they set rules like that, the general community won't even then look into using these rules.
Yeah.
They'll just,
They'll
on their
just-
event page, they'll say, we're using ITC rules. I mean,
Right, and maybe it's just because we go to tournaments, which there are definitely a huge percentage of people that don't go to tournaments, that just play in their basement, which is fine and awesome, and they'll use Realmscape rules, but when you have already a large part of a small community, gaming community, and they're just already turned off from not using Realm rules because ITC said we're not going to use them, so why learn them, basically mentality. It's kind of like with the train features. Is the last couple events we've gone to, they're like, oh, make sure you roll for scenery, the scenery table, the train rules. And the number of times where in the rounds, me and my opponent would roll for them and then we just would not use them ever again.
Yeah.
Or we just like wouldn't even acknowledge them. It's kind of a similar thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I tend to not use them either.
But it's that no, we're not using it, so that's going to influence people to just not use it anyway, versus people who are enthusiastic about using and trying out the Realm rules and having them excited for it, influencing tournaments to use it. Kind of.
so playing devil's advocate on that, without siding with ITC, without harassing ITC, and without my own personal opinion on whether or not Realms should be played, from the perspective of ITC, saying we're not using the Realms, their phrasing was wrong. What they should have said is we're not using the Realms yet. They should have done a buffer of, it's a new edition, we don't want to scare away attendance by saying, look at all this new stuff, isn't it scary, we're using it.
Yeah.
It's, we're going to wait, see what works, what doesn't work, what is overpowered, what isn't overpowered, and if we can utilize this in a tournament setting. So for the foreseeable future, we're not using them, but we'll readdress it in 6 months.
Right.
Then,
And to be fair, I have not seen exactly what they said.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I've
When-
only seen the blurb
Yeah.
on Daka Daka and Spiky Bits where everybody's like, oh, ITC already hates it, so just throw out that page in your book. You know, like, okay, well, it would be nice if they just came out and said, Nova 2018, LVO 2019, we're not using it. We'll reassess for Adepticon 2019, which will be the order of tournaments that are the major GTs that are coming out.
Right.
And by that point, it'll have settled out enough people have had a chance to play with it in their basement or at their local game stores, where they can collect enough feedback. And
Yeah.
they do seem like they have a really good finger on the pulse of the community as far as these things are problematic and troubling for the community. We're going to address it because GW can't keep up with it, and they've got their own stuff going
Yeah.
on. So we're going to take the reins on this, and they do a good job of that. I would have liked to see them. There's a dog here. There's a dog attempting to get in people's laps. Yeah, I would have liked ITC to specifically set a time like Adepticon 2019. We will reassess for this tournament, so you guys don't have to worry about it. But by this time, we'll know if we can run it or not. Because I really don't think it's that damaging to the game. And just like the double turn, it's part of the game. You should be using it. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of dissent as far as people liking or not liking the double turn, but it's in the rules. It's part of the game. You need to plan for it, and being able to show up and say, I know that there's going to be a realm roll before the tournament starts. I'm not surprised by it. I know that the roll is coming. I just don't know which of the realms we're going to be fighting in.
Maybe
It's something that you need to be, if you're in a tournament setting, you need to be able to adapt to that.
Yeah.
Like,
adaptability is a huge part of the game.
right, it's in the core rules. Like, I mean, I know Malign Sorcery is technically DLC, but
Malign Sorcery only includes the artifacts, though, really. Because the
that's
spells
true.
are in the
Yeah.
book.
that's true. Then yeah, so it's in the core rules. So you should be reading that book back to front to back, upside down, sideways. You should know it in and out.
The spells are in this book.
Yeah.
No, they're in both.
It has
Not
their
the
tinier
6 extra
spells.
ones.
Yeah, there's
It
one
has the
spell.
one unique realm
Yeah.
spell.
Oh, I thought it was all of them.
Now in the core book you get Fireball
Oh.
if you're in the realm of fire, and then you get.
Although, I also would not have an issue with that either, where they said we're doing the realms rules, but not doing the 6 spells out of the
Blind
the
sorcery.
blind sorcery, because then that way if you don't have the book, no worries, it's just that one
Right.
spell. And that's a little bit easier to manage in terms of
Right.
Because the core rules are free.
I feel like there's
that
Yeah.
part isn't, but
I feel like there's
realms aren't.
no.
I feel like there's a big gap between can't use it and we're gonna try to rein it in. You know, like
Yeah.
when Sigmar first came out and there was no points, there were people that said, okay, there's no points, how do we rein this in? And people were coming out with the point system, not actually numerical points, but it was like
I like that a lot.
it
I
was
was a huge fan of that.
Yeah, it was the
It
whole
was it was kind of like War Machine, where it's like this unit of 10 guys is 4 points. And honestly, I think that is where GW got their power level idea from, not from War Machine, from the people that the fan base
Right.
that came up with that. I don't even. It's
I don't
terrible. I don't
remember.
remember this website.
it was like 3 years ago.
Well,
But
but you know,
But you know what I'm talking about,
Right.
and people who are watching can hopefully do some research and find it. It's
Mhm.
still out there. But somebody made a fan website where they took all of the war scrolls that were free because there was no points, and they assigned them a numerical value between 1 and 15, I think.
yeah, I
And-
don't think they were any higher than that.
Yeah, and not that I saw anyway, but 1 and 15, and you could build a list of 10 points. And it was, yeah, you're right on it. It was basically 40k power level,
Yeah.
is what it was. And it was just this universal thing that you could agree to sit down, and it gave you some structure to a very sandboxy rule set at that point. And I feel like that could be the level of midpoint in the realm abilities for tournaments, where it's, you know, we're not going to use, you don't get to set up a magma dragon or the giant dinosaur from Lizardmen for free, but you also have access to the one generic spell and the few realm specific rules. So,
I'm curious what the ability is from the realm of beasts. Because
Yeah,
that you
sure,
set up the
right?
models, yeah. But
Yeah, these
I'm curious what
models.
the spells are. If Amanda, you want to go into your next part, I'll double check this.
That was really all I had for you guys
Realm of
today.
beasts.
You don't have
Oh,
your
so
outlandish
the-
prediction, Amanda?
I do
magic
that.
is cast on a 5. You pick a unit within 12 inches, and you add 2 inches to its run and charge rolls until the next year phase. That's pretty good. And then the second half is monstrous
Right.
beasts. So yeah, I would exclude the beasts, the realm of beasts, just from the missions that you can choose.
I would say that you could even do this and roll on the Realmscape features and ignore this one.
Ignore where you pull place
Yeah.
monsters.
Because the monster one is just, it's a pay to win mechanic. It's, you know,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
only plus side is that they go towards the closest enemy. So if you bring a Dread Sauron, yeah, you might have control of it, but next turn it might just turn around and eat you.
sure.
But I get where it's coming
Hilarious.
from.
Yeah, so.
Alright, so then I have our outlandish prediction. So, we have all these different realms. We have the realm of life, we have the realm of beasts. What would the 10th realm be?
Hey! Badoomsh. Oh.
I don't know. What would it?
I'll start because I know what it would be.
Oh, yeah?
It's going to be the realm of serpents. This is
Oh.
old school Warhammer fantasy. Amazonians in White Dwarf used to have their own spell lore that was separate from the 8 winds of magic, and that was the lore of serpents. And so the Amazonians would have the serpent lore, and so the 10th realm would be the super secret girls only club serpent realm. I mean, we can talk about any Freudian thing that you want
Yeah.
with women worshipping snakes, but
Oh, also, speaking of women only, for any girls and women that watch our show, there is a very awesome Facebook group called Warhammer Queens that is a girls only club, for lack of a better term.
Cool.
But feel free to join. We're all super nice, and there's no judgment or any sorts of derogatory comments that you might often find on other places where.
we have 0 women watching us. But
No.
Never
Good
know.
for you
Well-
for signal boosting.
John.
Well,
You know.
we do know
We
because
could.
I've looked at the YouTube analytics and
Yeah.
it's a big fat goose egg.
Well, no, there should be one because I occasionally watch her shows afterwards.
Oh,
It's a-
so there we
it's
go.
a percentage though, so yours,
Oh, I am a 0%. Okay, well,
Yep.
for any
the-
other
Good.
any other 0%ers out
Maybe
there.
the guys watching have a girlfriend or a friend who
Yep.
plays that's a girl that might be
Yeah.
interested in that. So-
Yeah, it's a really welcoming way to kind of ask questions and get feedback on stuff, whereas I know a lot of the times women feel sort of talked down to or just kind of like brushed aside in some of the other forums. So feel free to check it out.
And people should stand up. Don't let that shit come down.
No.
Sorry.
Cool.
Not supposed to swear. Don't
Yeah.
let people deal with that. Make sure you stand up for them because.
Women are gamers too.
Yep.
It's true.
All right, any other ideas what our realm might be? I feel
Do you
like
got one?
I
You want me to
don't.
go first?
You go. I
know.
don't have anything.
I don't know. Can we just like be like the pure chaos realm? It's just like where they're.
No, that's already
I
a
mean-
realm.
my thought was
The
just
ninth
like the
realm?
realm of
It's
It's the
actually-
hub is the chaos one that Archon controls.
Yeah, but that's not. That's the fire realm, right? Is where he is.
The Allgate.
It's not-
It's the Allgate.
The Allgate is in.
That doesn't count. That's not a realm. That's just like
That's the next
that's where all the gates are
Yeah.
that go to the one major fortress. That's not a.
That's not a realm. It's just a hub.
Yeah.
It's not a realm.
Right, it's a realm though.
It's
'Cause
not
we're
a
the test
realm.
realm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the one that we used.
Yeah, the chaotic realm is considered the ninth realm. Chaos. Realm of chaos.
Can you fight in the realm of chaos?
No.
The realm gate, yeah. So
But you can't fight in the Allgate either. I mean, you can. But
Yeah,
like,
exactly. 'Cause
But you
it's just a
could
bunch of keys.
Technically, people go to the Chaos Realm all the time. Like a Stormcast Eternal went into the Garden of Nurgle and came back. Granted, covered in puke and like vomiting his brains out, but
That was like one of the best parts of the End Time books too that I just remembered.
yeah.
Is they had to go into the Nurgle realm because one of the Great Unclean captured Ilariel and was like keeping her in a cage like a bird or something.
Oh wait, so
And
that's actually
they show
oh.
and they show up and there's a dude who is massive to them. They said he was like 8 feet tall in all bright silver armor
No, it's Trigon.
that had blue warp energy that he was using to kill demons. And he found them and saved them and used his great sword to kill demons and then told them where to go and left.
Sounds like
And
a
it's
great
like
night.
100% confirmed a Grey Knight.
Yeah.
Just lost in the Chaos Realm.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
bled between the realms.
that's how it works.
Well-
so
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know enough of the old world
Oh, it doesn't have
lores to.
you don't have to be old world. Like I feel like we would just be the realm of nonsense and shenanigans.
So nice sunshine and lollipops.
I started
Yeah.
thinking of like alcohol because we do a lot of drinking sometimes and gets out of hand, but
What?
sometimes we do.
What
We've
is
never drank and gotten out of the pants.
You could be like the realm of like Dionysus.
Well, Jake
He's the
did.
Greek god
Well,
of
Jake
wine.
did.
Yeah, when I'm leaning up against a wall to walk down in a
Oh,
hotel.
and Kevin did too.
Kevin
That's
does
it.
too. We had to-
when we lost
Oh.
him in Vegas.
Yeah, we had to carry
So
Kevin
half
on
the
the Vegas
group
strip.
is.
That's what you get for waking up in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Katy
It was
Perry?
nighttime. What?
It wasn't that time.
it was.
It was so funny.
Okay, yeah.
Look at the
I,
little one carrying the big
No.
one. God, worst moment of my life.
All right, before we go off
Yeah,
on too many
Yep, so,
tangents.
yeah.
yeah.
All right, so sunshine and lollipops,
Yeah.
serpents,
Candyland.
chaos, and
Yep.
shenanigans is what our realm would consist of.
And booze.
And booze.
And
Lots
booze.
and lots of booze.
All right.
Our oceans
Alright.
would be made out of booze.
All right, does anyone want
That's
to
not
start
even
us
practical, Jake. But if people gonna drink, you can't live off of alcohol.
Yeah. Okay, so
What about
So this is
little
the
one?
Age of Sigmar podcast, and right here we just went up like this, and now we're not even on the
John,
track
John.
anymore.
Life finds a
Oh
way.
my god.
all right. So
Probably.
really quick before all these boys get all out of hand, I just want to remind you guys again that we have a giveaway. 3 core books, a General's Handbook 18, and a set of endless spells that will be painted by myself. Subscribe and then comment on one of our videos and you'll be entered for one of those things. We'll be doing, the random generator and giving those away to some viewers.
Yep.
Chaos Orc Superstore, our sponsor. Big shout out to them.
Check
they
them
have a great selection and super fast shipping.
Mhm.
And then
But shop local when you can, because
yes,
that's where you play. You can't play on an online store.
that is true.
Not yet.
You can, but
The
I've
future.
played on whatever the
tabletop simulator.
Yeah, tabletop simulator. It's real bad.
Alright,
Oh.
more tangents. So does anyone want to sign us off?
Oh,
I know
Kevin's
that's-
not here.
Kevin's not here.
I don't
yeah.
even remember what he says.
Just everybody be quiet. Look at the camera. We're just gonna turn it off.
Bye.
No, no. Thanks for joining us in the 10th realm. We'll see you next time, is what
Oh,
Kevin
wait,
always
wait,
says.
Hey,
Okay.
okay.
Alright, bye.
Bye.
Bye.